Did you know that corned beef is a popular ingredient in many dishes, like the classic Reuben sandwich or the traditional St. Patrick's Day meal? But have you ever wondered what makes this salty, tasty meat so special? Let's take a closer look at how corned beef is made, from the factory to your plate, and see what goes into creating this favorite dish. Before we look at how corned beef is made today, let's take a quick look at its history. Curing meat with salt has been around for thousands of years, with ancient cultures like the Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans using salt to preserve meat for long trips and cold winters. But it wasn't until the 17th century that corned beef started to take shape in Ireland. The term corned comes from the large grains of salt called corns, used to preserve the meat. This method was especially helpful for Irish farmers, as it allowed them to store beef for long periods without refrigeration. At first, corned beef wasn't a common dish in Ireland. It was mainly used as a way to preserve meat. But by the 18th century, Irish farmers started raising cattle specifically for corned beef, making it a more regular part of their diet. The connection between corned beef and Irish culture grew even stronger in the 19th century when many Irish immigrants came to the United States. In the United States, corned beef became more culturally important. Irish immigrants, wanting to keep a taste of home, started using it in different ways. It became especially popular with Jewish American communities, who used corned beef as a replacement for the brisket they made in Eastern Europe. This mix of Irish and Jewish cooking led to the famous corned beef sandwich, usually with mustard and rye bread, a classic American dish. Corned beef quickly became popular in Jewish delis, especially in places like New York, and became a big part of Jewish American culture. For Irish Americans, corned beef became a symbol of their heritage, especially during St. Patrick's Day, when it is still widely enjoyed. Corned beef started as a way to preserve meat and has grown into a popular dish in many cultures. It's now a common food in kitchens, served in sandwiches, stews, and more reflecting both Irish and Jewish American traditions. Let's take a closer look at how corned beef is made today and what keeps its unique flavor and texture. The process of making corned beef starts with choosing the beef. It's usually made from brisket, a cut from the cow's chest, known for being tender and flavorful when cooked slowly. Brisket has a good amount of fat, which melts during cooking to create that melt-in-your-mouth texture. While other cuts like round or chuck can be used, brisket is the top choice because of its great flavor and juiciness. The beef for corned beef usually comes from large farms where cattle are raised in controlled conditions to grow at a steady rate and produce good quality meat. These farms feed the cattle grain to help them grow quickly and develop fat marbling. The marbling is important because it adds flavor and moisture to the meat. The more marbling, the more tender and flavorful the corned beef will be when cooked, as the fat melts into the meat. Cattle on these farms are raised to grow big and produce quality meat. Depending on the farming method, they may be kept on pastures or in feedlots, but the goal is always to create beef that is tender and juicy. The grain-based diet helps the cattle develop the right amount of fat, or marbling, to give the meat the perfect balance of fat and muscle for curing. Once the beef is ready, it is sent to a processing facility to begin the brining process. The brisket is soaked in a mixture of water, salt, and spices like garlic, mustard seeds, coriander, and black pepper. This brine flavors and tenderizes the meat, with the salt pulling moisture out and replacing it with the brine. The beef stays in the brine for several days, allowing the flavors to fully soak in and cure the meat before the next steps. When the brisket arrives at the factory, the first step is the brining process. The brisket is soaked in a mixture of water, salt, and spices. Salt is the main ingredient, preserving the meat and enhancing its flavor. The salt draws out moisture from the beef and replaces it with the flavors from the brine, creating a well-seasoned cut. The large grains of salt are important because they slowly penetrate the meat, ensuring an even cure. The brine also includes spices like mustard seeds, peppercorns, and bay leaves, which give corned beef its unique taste. These spices add aromatic flavors that balance the salty brine. Other ingredients, like garlic, cloves, and coriander, may also be used depending on the recipe. Each spice adds a different layer of flavor, making the curing process key to the meat's taste. not just its preservation. The brisket soaks in the brine for several days to weeks, depending on the desired flavor and texture. During this time, the salt and spices slowly soak into the meat. The brine draws moisture out of the beef and replaces it with the flavors, creating a rich taste that makes corned beef stand out. The soaking time can be adjusted to get the right balance of flavor and texture. Sometimes, sodium nitrate or sodium nitrite is added to the brine. This ingredient plays an important role in keeping the meat safe during the curing process. It prevents harmful bacteria from growing, so the meat stays safe to eat while it's stored. Sodium nitrate also helps give corned beef its typical pink color. While it doesn't affect the flavor, it's essential for keeping the meat looking good and safe to eat, allowing it to maintain its color and quality during curing. After the brisket is soaked in the brine for the right amount of time, it moves to the next important step, cooking. First, the brisket is taken out of the brine and rinsed to remove any extra salt and spices from the surface. This step is important to make sure the meat isn't too salty. After rinsing, the brisket is placed into large cookers. These cookers are designed to heat the meat evenly, ensuring that every piece cooks at the same rate. This method makes sure the beef is neither undercooked nor overcooked, giving it the perfect tenderness and flavor. The cooking process is slow. This slow cooking is important because it breaks down the tough connective tissues in the brisket, which would otherwise make the meat chewy. Cooking the beef at a low temperature for a long time turns these tissues into gelatin, making the meat very tender. The slow cooking also lets the brine flavors soak deeper into the meat. The result is a flavorful and tender bite in every slice of corned beef, turning a tough cut into a juicy, melt-in-your-mouth treat. Slow cooking not only makes the beef tender, but also enhances the flavors of the brine. As the brisket cooks, it soaks up more of the salty, spiced brine, ensuring that every part of the meat has that signature savory taste. By the time it's done, the brisket has transformed into corned beef, with its unique texture and flavor developed through hours of brining and slow cooking. This process ensures that each slice is perfectly tender and full of flavor. Once the brisket is cooked to the right tenderness, it's cooled to room temperature and then vacuum sealed. This step helps keep the corned beef fresh and prevents it from drying out during transport. Vacuum sealing locks in the juiciness and tenderness, so the corned beef stays fresh and tasty until it's ready to be served. This ensures customers get the high-quality, flavorful corned beef they expect. After the corned beef is cooked and cooled, it's ready to be sliced. In the factory, large slicing machines cut the beef into uniform pieces. These machines make sure each slice is the right size, from thin deli slices to thicker cuts for cooking at home. This consistency is important for a high-quality product. The slicing process is important for making sure the corned beef is consistent in quality. It helps keep the meat's moisture and juiciness in each slice. Even slices are key for both appearance and cooking. Whether you're making a sandwich or a main dish, every slice has the same texture and flavor. Plus, uniform thickness helps the beef cook evenly when heated. For mass-produced corned beef sold in stores, the slices are sealed in airtight containers or wrapped in plastic to keep them fresh and flavorful. The packaging also protects the beef from contamination, making it safe to eat when it reaches the store. Vacuum sealing is commonly used to help the products stay fresh longer, making it easier for customers to buy in store. Some brands sell whole briskets of corned beef instead of pre-sliced pieces. This lets customers slice the meat to their preferred thickness at home, giving them more control over how it looks and feels. Whole briskets are usually bought for big meals or special occasions. Many chefs and home cooks like this option because it lets them cook the meat exactly how they want, whether for a hearty stew or a perfect Reuben sandwich. To preserve corned beef on a large scale, it's not just the salt that matters. Many commercially produced corned beef products also include additives like sodium benzoate and citric acid to stop spoilage and make it last longer. These preservatives help keep the product fresh, so it stays safe to eat even after being transported and stored for a long time. Without these additives, the corned beef would be more likely to spoil or grow bacteria. Flavor enhancers like monosodium glutamate, MSG, are also added to bring out the savory taste that makes corned beef so tasty. MSG strengthens the natural flavors in the meat, making it richer and more flavorful. This helps corned beef appeal to more people. While some people may worry about these additives, they are considered safe in the amounts used in food and are approved by food safety authorities. These additives help make sure the product is both tasty and safe to eat. Along with preservatives and flavor enhancers, some color stabilizers are added to keep the pink color of corned beef, which many people like. These stabilizers, together with the curing process, help the product look good, which is important for marketing and customer satisfaction. While additives help keep corned beef fresh and improve flavor, many producers are listening to consumer demand for simpler ingredients. More and more, companies are using fewer additives and preservatives. This change shows that people are becoming more aware of healthy eating and wanting more natural food, even in products like corned beef. Corned beef has stayed popular for centuries because of its rich flavor, versatility, and cultural importance. Whether it's in a Reuben sandwich, SD Patrick's Day meal, or other favorite dishes, corned beef continues to satisfy people around the world. Its tender texture, created by careful brining and slow cooking, makes it a tasty choice that's found in kitchens and restaurants everywhere. Corned beef has stayed popular not just because of its taste, but also because of its cultural and historical importance. From its start in Ireland to its adoption by Irish and Jewish communities in the United States, it has become part of many traditions, symbolizing comfort and celebration. Advances in large-scale production have made it easy for people to get, while the right mix of preservatives and flavor enhancers keeps it fresh and tasty. Corned beef has stayed popular by adjusting to changing needs for convenience, flavor, and quality. It works well in many dishes and is easy to store, making it a favorite for families and food lovers. Even with new food trends, corned beef continues to be a timeless favorite, showing that when a product has a strong tradition and is made with care, it stays loved for years. Now, we want to know what's your favorite way to enjoy corned beef. Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tasty breakdowns. See you next time.